Hello and welcome to more Dark Souls 2 with me, Oni Black Mage. Last time we defeated our fourth boss, the Dragon Rider, even though he wasn't really riding a dragon. And I decided to warp back here to Majula to go ahead and level up and buy a few more spare effigies, just in case. Because I was running a little bit low, even though the last boss gave you 5. I like to keep a good stock, a nice healthy stock whenever I can. So I'm returning to this guy's mansion because I remember he said that he wanted to explore the basement and return later to check out the map, so I'm doing just that. I actually did come by here earlier and there was a single skeleton in the basement, and that was it actually. And I came back here and it looks like he returned himself. So let's see what he has to say.
Oh, hello again. You've made it.
That's what I'm here for.
The map, I presume. Of course. Take a good look.
If I knew that this basement was relatively tame, or at least relatively tame for the level now, then I advise going in earlier. Because, again, like I said, the first time I went through this house, the only thing in here that was hostile was a single skeleton. And if you can handle the Hallowed Knights, the sword-wielding ones, then you're gonna be fine. They handled it pretty much the exact same way. A little bit faster, I'd say, but they otherwise handled it pretty much the same way.
I would not. It was blocked by a wall, but it was crumbling, and I finished the job. Did you see the...
Yeah, I see the flame on the map.
Came here before.
Not sure what it signifies myself.
I know what explains it.
I'll have to probably keep checking back here as the campaign goes on. Maybe something changes. Alright, so that wasn't a chest. Let's actually thoroughly explore this. Let me get my shield out just in case. Alright, not too much to look at. No enemies, it looks like. There's a chest, and there's something to collect. Nice! Now I can get 4 uses out of my Estus flask. That's always good. So yeah, I definitely recommend coming down here as early as possible. Alright, what's in here? It's a fancy chest. Soul Vessel, huh? Interesting. Let's see, no hidden wall. Let's see what that soul vessel does. I'm curious. Show this to a certain person, huh? I don't think I've encountered anybody just yet that was asking for a soul vessel. Let's see, the only strange things that I've seen with people, there's the tree that looks like a giant in the Forest of the Fallen Giant. That one looks like it needs an item. There's a petrified woman next to a gate that's preventing access to another area that's actually just up north here of Majula. If you just go backwards towards the tutorial zone, there's another area that branches off. She might need an item.
Is that a
But I'll test all that later,
to see light,
because there's still plenty of stuff to explore. I'm gonna go back and talk to that one priest who was praying over there. I left them hanging, and now let's go back to the Tower of Flame and see what they have to say. Looks like I've already basically through halfway the areas so far, so... That doesn't mean much though, because there's still some areas that you have to be done over twice. So for all I know, I'm just barely a third of the way through the game, maybe even just a fourth. I still haven't found any upgrades for my particular sorcery spells though. Let's see what this person has to say.
Are you from these parts? My name is Lycia. I've come to spread the art of miracles, a practice of which I am a disciple. I can see that you are well
thank you.
to comprehend their
I have been
wondrous
putting a little bit
power.
into my faith.
But the cost of it, that's for your heart to decide.
Oh, finally! Okay, I was wondering when okay, Sacred Chime, that's what it is. Perfect, this is exactly what I was looking for. I chose to put 12 into my faith, just so I can use the bare minimum miracles. The least one, which is the healing one, which I'm glad to have now, and I'm totally going to pick that up. Looks like I need 1,400 souls, though, to buy it. And it looks like, yeah, okay, so she's a vendor who sells a bunch of miracles. Alright. Miracles, by the way, I guess you could say are like clerics or priests, and they mostly specialize in healing and protection, as well as, I believe they shoot lightning. Yeah, they shoot lightning. So that's mostly what they do. I still haven't found the sorcery vendor, the hex vendor, or the pyromancy vendor. I was thinking about doing a pyromancer, but I decided to do sorcerer because I was familiar with using one of those before. But I haven't seen. Okay, so she's the first one of those. I'm glad. So good for any miracle users out there. And this is an early access area too. So provided you could be that dragon rider, you can get here pretty quickly. If you're just a miracle user. Now I just need a sorcerer vendor so I can buy some better spells. So that's good. What I'm going to do now is, I guess it's a little bit of sidetracking. And maybe I shouldn't be recording this, but you know, maybe it's a time to talk a little bit more. Because I want a chance to now level up, and what I'm going to do now is go through, since I need about, oh, was it 1,400 or 2,400 souls? I forget. Anyway, I need to get enough souls to buy that chime, so I can go ahead and equip that chime and attune it towards my healing spell, and now be able to heal on the fly. Oh, that's right, I forgot to check these guys. Good thing I came back here. Let's see what's in these chests. Alright, so the blue eye orbs I know allow me to enter other people's worlds. I still haven't done that yet, though. Oh, fancy. I wonder if that iron mask is better than the helm I'm wearing. Well, it's kind of better, but at the same time, it's also kind of worse in some areas. We'll see. Let's keep it on.
Transient being. This is no place for one such as you. Be gone.
Huh, interesting.
You are not needed.
I'm gonna have to come back later after doing a quest, because he looks way too important to just be standing here by chance. So I guess he's like a blue knight priest or something. Alright, well anyway, let's do a little bit of farming. And let's talk about something else while we're just doing this, so I can occupy your attention for a few more minutes. Let's see. In regards to this game, one of the things I like to point out is one pet peeve I have with the RPG genre in general. And it's kind of a selfish rant, but if you'll indulge me, I think you might see my point. You see, there's a common slang out there that a lot of people choose to differentiate in the RPG genre. Now, RPGs themselves have multiple tiers, and if you're not familiar being on RPGs, maybe this is a quick tutorial, or if you do play a lot of RPGs, then you already know this already, so just bear with me. Alright, when it comes to RPGs, there's basically these console RPGs right here. And in my editorial video, I related them most to being based on the foundation of the evolution of RPGs, which all originally basically borrow themselves from chess and D&D. And you can always check that out later. The point is, RPGs are RPGs. Yeah, you have offshoots and cousins such as the MMO. You have the you have strategy RPGs, which are their own field, and then even on strategy RPGs, you have their own thresholds, such as the grand strategy RPGs, in which you're not only commanding armies, you're commanding like planets and countries with incredible micromanagement, like Hearts of Iron and things like that. Those are incredibly complex, and those are way, way above, or the 4X games, you know, those incredibly sort of like conquering type games. Those are incredibly their own type of RPGs. But the more casual, the light RPGs as they call them, which is like these console-based RPGs especially, I noticed that there's this term that's out there that's popular and used to serve a term, and it's something everybody's heard of. It's called the JRPG. Now, JRPG is supposed to mean, or just stand for Japanese RPG, you know, Japanese role-playing game. That's what it stands for. But it seems to me that there's this common slang and using it to basically not just approach anything that looks like a Japanese role-playing game, or any game that really could be from Japan, but any game that looks like the type of RPG that uses a lot of anime design choices, or anime humor, or anime references. such as, say, like Final Fantasy or the Tales series, you know, things like that. Those are what's called, oh, that looks like a JRPG, so, you know, looks like an anime, so it looks like a JRPG. Meanwhile, games like this, which have their roots in Japan, and are Japanese role-playing games, are not considered, you know, wide term. People are like, wow, this is a JRPG? Yes, it's technically a Japanese RPG. Although, keep in mind, when I say Japanese, I realize I could be mistaken, because there are certain RPGs that people call JRPGs, like Phantasy Star, which are actually Korean, you know, Ragnarok, things like that. Those games are actually Korean. And there are other games too, like, you know, Fable is from Britain and things like that, and the Bard's Tale, those are obviously British RPGs. But you don't see British RPGs called BRPGs, you know? You don't see RPGs made anywhere else given any sort of regional designator. So why do we have a regional designator for Japan? Back in the day, I think like in the 90s when RPGs were really coming in heavy, it really was kind of an east-west sort of deal, where most RPGs either came from America or they came from Japan. That's pretty much it. So I guess to differentiate ourselves, we called it JRPGs, anything that didn't come from domestic America. But that's not really right, is it? These days, games, much less RPGs, come from everywhere around the world. So why do we still keep using this term? Why do we still keep acting like it's relevant? You know? Not to sound controversial, I'm not trying to make this a political issue, but isn't segregating or discriminating any particular object or persons based on their cultural or regional ethnicity, isn't that kind of like racism? You know, why are we using this term, and why do we act like it's okay? My point is, RPGs are RPGs. There is no point. I hate when people try to distinguish the difference between, you know, Western RPGs and JRPGs, because these days, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. The design choices are so similar, the art styles can go anywhere in any which way, the conventions are so similar, it doesn't matter. And yet people still insist on this dividing line. So personally, I do not like using the term JRPG, and it irks me. It's an itch that I hate to not scratch, and I try not to bite other people for using it when they use it. In all honesty, you know, they're not trying to infer anything or be mean. But I personally don't like the term. Don't like using it. I don't like how people try to use it. I don't like the slight, which makes it even worse when I see people use it and then they use it in terms like, oh, that game's a JRPG, when it's not a game made out of Japan. Or when a game is made out of Japan and they don't call it a JRPG when it is a Japanese role-playing game. So it's like, gosh, at least be consistent. At least be consistent if you're just going to use a term like that. So to wrap up this long and hopefully not boring, stale rant is, JRPG is a useless, moot, obsolete term. Please stop using it. I would appreciate it if I got phased out of the gaming culture these days. That and console wars. Gosh. Console wars. I know I made that rant a couple of videos ago, but that is such a moot thing these days. So moot. Back when consoles used to be, have tons and tons and tons of exclusives, and companies were exclusive to just consoles, like, majorly. These days it's kind of strange for most companies to be tied to just one console. Although there's still quite a fair bit. But these days there's so many cross-platform releases, even across indie games or AAA games. And it's such a moot point, but people still insist. Still insists on fighting the past. So tiresome. Well, anyway, that banter cost enough time to go ahead and get probably more than enough souls. I wasn't sure if I needed 1400, if I needed 2400, so I did 2400 to be safe. It looks like I was definitely playing it safe, so now I finally have a Chime. I can finally attune a miracle spell to it. And I will do just that. Because between the Estus Flask and 3 usages of healing, I'm pretty confident now that I can start spare using any of the Radiant Stones, so that way I don't have to keep using those and crushing those. I'm already running a little low on those, and I don't want to keep wasting them. And while I have 4 uses of the Estus Flask, that's great. Now I have 3 uses of heal, so now I can heal in a pinch. I feel a little bit better now. Of course, I get the feeling that because this is offered now, they're going to start ramping up the challenges. So let's see, it looks like this is the only way forward, because I already checked out the cathedral, there's no other way, so here we go. Onward and upward, which is downward and downward. Alright, nothing around here. Ah. A little bit of treasure around here. Monastery Charm. Let's see, what is that? Let's see, where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay, cures poison. Not okay. Interesting. The fact that they're starting to drop that, and I only encountered that one poison trap, but it wouldn't surprise me if there were poisonous enemies around here now. Alright, so there's a lower level. Oh, okay. Big guy. I wonder if I can bait him back to the stairwell, because I know he can't fit on that stairwell. Let's see if I can kite him back here. Oh, see? He's already backtracking. Perfect. Can't fight and swing that huge blade so well in this small hallway. I will fully take advantage of that. By the way, if any of you out there are RPG fans, not like, you don't have to be super hardcore, played every series out there, but you know, you appreciate the genre, you've played, you know, more than one franchise. No offense to anyone out there, but if your entire role-playing game experience is just limited to like Final Fantasy, I don't know, I tend to think that, or like just one series in general, like say I've only played Tales games, I've only played Civ games, I've only played, you know, Dragon Quest games. Like when you only have one series, that to me is like limiting your palate. It's like, how can you really criticize, like to use a food analogy, you've only eaten one type of meat, like you only eaten beef your entire life, so your opinion on chicken isn't necessarily the most well-rounded opinion. It's not necessarily valid, but it's also not well-founded either. So expand your palate. Play different RPGs. It doesn't matter where they come from. An RPG is an RPG. When people keep using slang terms to try to draw lines and divisions and segregate based on just artificialities, that should be a red flag to you that this person's just trying to stir up some sort of a, rile you up in some way. They want you to think one way versus another. Us versus them. This versus that. So again, think for yourselves, people. You're smart. I believe in you. Alright, so this old Knight Halberd. I noticed in a lot of these knights I picked up, I have a few old knight gears, like their armor and some leggings and just a lance. And I wonder if that upgrades to anything, because the description seems to suggest that it does. Is it gonna come up here? Can he even fit in here? Oh, no he cannot. He can't fit that tiny door. I can though. Perfect. It's like the tutorial level all over again. Yep. Yeah, you can't even swing through here. Of course, I'm not going to try to chance that his, you know, collision physics can't swing through the door magically and hit me. Because I can't fire my spell through here, but that doesn't mean he can't slash his sword through here. If I was a weapon user and I had a polearm, this would be perfect too. Just keep stabbing him from this distance. All too easy. And we'll do the same thing to this guy over here. But yeah, finishing up what I was saying before, if you have an opinion on that, it doesn't matter what your experience is with the genre, I'd like to hear it honestly, so leave a comment below what your opinion is on the current state of RPGs. Because there is not enough journalists out there covering RPGs. Which I find strange because it is still a vibrant, growing, constantly being used genre. It is not irrelevant, it's not dying, it is still quite alive just like everything else. There's always RPGs coming out. In fact, just recently, South Park Stick of Truth has brought all new awareness of RPGs to other people. To those of us who've been in the genre, we look at it and be like, oh, cute, they made Paper Mario and put a South Park thing over it. Which is basically what it is. Basically Paper Mario and South Park mixed together. And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's fun. It's fun. And if you're a fan of the series, it's an even better treat. So, again, why this... There's not a stigma, but people want to tell you that there is. So, ignore that. Just keep playing, have fun. Be confident in what you're doing. Alright, so this elevator here looks like the next zone, so I'm going to pause here and catch you guys next time. Bye.